Sorry, thought I had to burp there. All right. My shoulder hurts.
Does why?
This one, the left one. Cause so I mean, we all know about reflexes and phobia, and a lot of times your body does stuff that like your brain isn't prepared for. But if you're at all like me, as I get older, I'm like, I get, flight or fight responses and, things like that. And if I'm easily startled, and I get that, but I feel like I'm better than I was. I feel like I'm getting more to where I can at least sort of control what happens. And then you have an experience where you're like, nope, nope. There's shit that can just trigger my body to do all kinds of crap without me thinking about it or wanting to do it. And I'm so not in control of it.
Okay.
So, as you may recall, I have something of a phobia over spidos and sort of creepy crawlies in general, but spiders in particular are a problem for me. I do feel like I am getting better. If I see a spider, I don't automatically freak out anymore. Generally, in fact, just today, the cat's water dish, there was what I thought was a dead spider, and I went to get it out of the water, and it was still alive. And I just got it up onto my fingers and then set it where it could be okay elsewhere. I'm much better at these things now. But it's still not great. Like, I still have my days that I'm not. And in general, especially on me is a bad one. Although I'm even getting better than that. I feel like I'm getting a lot better at these things. So last night, it's, I don't know, 3 a.m, and I get up to pee, which is not a hard commute. It's probably 6 feet from my bed, maybe 10, all the way to the toilet. So pee, I head back to the bedroom. I've got my CPAP mask on because I just disconnect the hose part. Now, when I get back in the bed, I kind of get on all fours first, like on the mattress, to sort of position things. And then I can slide my feet back under the carpet. And I can make sure that I know where the hose is for the CPAP or anything. And this is great. I'm on the side by the door, so I don't disturb my wife at all or anything like that. And so I'm doing this, and sorry, I was gonna make you uncomfortable, but you got to know, wasn't wearing a shirt. Was topless in bed. It is germane to the story, so I have to say it. So I'm getting in the bed, and I'm getting ready to lay down again, and I feel something crawling in the small of my back, and I jump. Now, okay, from this part of the story, I should say it's hazy because it went very quickly. I was half asleep, and some of this is getting details from what my wife witnessed when she finally woke up. But at this point, she's asleep. So I kind of jump a little bit. And then sometimes it's a trick. I've had this before where, like, I feel like there's something on me. I'm like, ah, and it's nothing. Or it's like the tail of the cat. Or on rare moments, it's my own fucking hand. I have done that to myself lying in bed. Like, my hand went like this. I'm like, oh, what was that? Like, it's bad. But I jump and I'm like, oh, wait, no, there really is something there. And I'm like, shit, it's crawling on my back. So I reach behind me with my right hand to the small of my back and grab whatever it is. Now, again, the timing on all of this gets a little bit weird, but I grab it not tight enough, like it's still kind of moving in my hand. And so I think I tried to sort of squeeze a little bit, but mostly I just threw it onto the bed. About this time, I think, this hand was holding me up. The left hand was holding me up. We don't have a headboard in a normal sense. It's iron bars because it looked cool, and it's also really nice because I sleep with my hand sort of over my head, and I can put it through the bars. It's not up against the headboard. So the space between the iron and the thing, my arm fell down, so I immediately am down on the bed. But there's still a creepy crawly that I just threw in the bed next to me and I don't know where, and it's dark. So I'm just slamming the mattress over and over again. And at this point, my wife wakes up enough to yell, "What is happening?" All of that part was probably the span. I'm going to say 2 seconds, not even 3. That was like 2 seconds of all of that happening. And remarkably, very quickly, I come back to myself. I'm like, sorry, there was something on my back. And I get up and I turn on the light. Didn't warn my wife, which I'm usually bad at. So she's just in the bed going, ah! And I'm looking and I think they're still alive or something. I think I see something big. I'm like, shit, was it a mouse or something? But I mean, no, it's just a flap of sheet or whatever. And I finally find it. And this is dead spider. And it is a pretty big one. And I didn't like, I killed it, but it's not like a mess. Like it just, but it's dead. And it is a pretty big one. Oh, holy shit. That was on the small on my back. And it, just in case this one is not clear, that entire process, none of it, not only not planned, not decided. Like I made no decision in any of that. I was there and it was happening. And I guess it was my body doing it, but I was just an audience member. So yeah, when I fell down to the thing, I was like, I bet that's gonna hurt tomorrow. And it really fucking does. There's a little bit of a goose egg there. I'm guessing I'm gonna get a real nice bruise.
Sorry about that.
And within like 3 minutes, we were going back to sleep.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing how fast it passed. But like, yeah, that is the most like out of control of my own body from being startled that I can imagine. And I have a history of those things, but that one was like long and involved. And I didn't even, Trish was like, what's happening? Like, I didn't even register that my arm had fallen through. Like I wasn't even paying attention. I was very much about smashing the mattress. And I think actually before I went back to sleep, the very last thing I said is I'm going to love talking about this tomorrow. Because this was last night.
Yeah.
So hello everyone. Welcome to Magical Talking Hat Podcast. The only podcast in the world that has planned its own gritty reboot podcast for fall of 2023. It's just going to be called Hat in lowercase. And Guy Ritchie is attached to direct at present. I'm Tony.
I'm William. This is episode 545.
We are down to 4 little note cards. For those of you who have never joined us on the show before, I mean, it's not really. We have a hat that's magical in that it has its own email address, themagicaltalkinghat@gmail.com, and people email into there, and the hat's going to forward to us, and we will read the emails and address them on the air, except when we don't, which is most of it. But for the moment, we're still doing it through a very old process by which emails to themagicaltalkinghat@gmail.com are transmogrified into little note cards, manifest physically within the hat itself. But that's not going to be much longer. So get ready for that business. So it's been like a week and a half. How you doing? How you doing, cowboy?
I'm doing all right. He thinks that's
so
funny
good.
because
I
found out that the replacement valve I'm getting is bovine in nature. Although, as I was telling you, I always thought it was like a transplant type of thing, but it's not. It's
me too.
They build them, and they just use tissue as part of the material that they make it out of. So, I mean, does that make it really just an artificial valve as much as any other?
I think
valve?
so. I mean, well, I don't know. The word artificial is tricky. I would say we can say synthetic.
Yeah, synthetic. Yeah,
definitely a synthetic valve because it has been synthesized. But yeah, I always had assumed also that it's like, no, they're just like ours, so we just stick them in there. But it's like,
They-
no, we just find cows useful for this, which is weird. Because if you're doing that, couldn't you just graft human tissue with a relatively small sample? I mean, assume the valve's pretty small.
don't really know. I mean, it came up in the conversation, and we're talking about the conversation I had about the surgery.
Hmm.
So if people don't know, it came up about, well, what is there like any immune response to putting this
Right?
foreign body in your?
Rejection, yeah.
And they said no. And I wonder if they're, I wonder if these animal sourced valves are easier to fix that way. I don't know.
Your body's like, he just got a little taco meat in his heart. It's fine. No, did you tell him? You've been like, I've been vegetarian for a long time. My body may really be freaked out by the presence of meat.
Well, it's probably more like leather in there.
I hear they're working on the impossible heart valve.
Yep. No, so yeah, it's going to be bovine.
People like the Boca heart valve, but I've heard like the Boca heart valve is nice, but it's not like a heart valve. If you want something that will fool you into thinking it's really a heart valve, the Boca heart valve is not the way to go.
Heard that too. Yeah. So anyway, again, for people who don't know, it's going to be open heart surgery. They're replacing the valve with a synthetic. I think even the literature they gave me called it a prosthetic valve. Even like I think they use that word, prosthetic. But
I think that's way less cool than thinking that you're now part cow. You're like a terrible anamorph.
Told me, they said your valve actually probably could have lasted for a while. We're only replacing it because we can while we're doing this other thing, which is replacing that huge portion of the or it looked like a huge portion anyway to me of the aortic valve, which is having some
the root, right? The aortic root.
Right. But what they showed me was, so like when imagine the microphone is a heart, when your aorta comes out of it, it just sort of goes out like this and then arches over and then goes down. It looks like a candy cane is what it looks like. Well, so, it's about, yay big around, and they showed me the image of my aorta that they took the CAT scan earlier or something. And you could see that it was a uniform diameter, clear up and over. And then right as soon as it got over the arch, it widened out quite a bit. Too much, obviously, which they were concerned that it was going to burst. I mean, that's the whole point here. It's almost like an aneurysm type situation. In fact, they called it an aneurysm.
Because the widening means it is distended and therefore the wall of it is thinner.
Stuff. Right?
It's not that you have a bigger aorta there. It's just stretched, which means thinner. Okay.
It's bad. It's a bad thing.
Well, I mean, I assumed like, no, we're going to go into your heart because we just want to look at it. It sounds so awesome.
Well, they're going to, but that's the thing they're most concerned about. They're just replacing the valve, the aortic valve, because it's, they can. It probably could have lasted a little while longer.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But it's like, as long as we're in there, Jesus, let's not do this again in a few years.
Exactly. So they're going to take out a huge portion of the aorta there, and they're going to put, I don't know what that material is made out of. It's some artificial material. So, and on top of that, when they put the rib cage back together and everything, there's going to be like titanium wires and stuff that are going to stay in there. So I'm going to have all kinds of, I'm going to have all kinds of new stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to be,
are there optional additions you can get? I mean, I'm willing to throw a few bucks if we can get you like a, fingertip laser or,
Well, I mean, I broached that topic a little, but
lock picks.
Yeah, they said there weren't very many options. Just basically what was on the table. I did ask, but I mean, cool. it was all the stuff they said. It did feel kind of like a, we can rebuild him. We have the technology moment for sure.
Right.
But it all sounded also horrific. And so that's, I mean, I'm not so much worried about
Yeah.
the surgery, especially, I'm not worried about that part of it. I won't be awake. And they said a 99% chance of everything working out fine, which that's, fine. It's the week in the hospital that I'm going to hate every second of. I just know it. And I'm dreading it every second before. So, but it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll all work out, and I'll probably feel better when it's over, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
You probably just have to binge some TV or some shit.
I have work to do. I mean, school will be done, but I still have work on WISP to do.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how well that's going to work out in there. I mean, sure, if you can do it, that's great. But in my limited hospital experiences, when you're recovering from surgery, not a super productive time.
Well, I imagine, there's going to be pain reliever involved. So
Yeah.
like you
it's
say, there
happening
might not be.
again. Your video's all frozen. What is that deal? I don't like it.
Interestingly, it didn't freeze
Creeps
on
me out.
YouTube. It didn't freeze on YouTube at all.
Really?
Yeah, it's just freezing for you. Do I need to do something about it?
That's weird. I guess not then.
Not
it
for
also
the
means
recording.
you can totally make faces at me and I won't know, but it'll show up on the YouTube. That's pretty sweet.
Okay, well, I don't know. Yeah, weirdly, we watched the YouTube thing, and when you were talking about the image being frozen, it wasn't.
That is too weird.
So I don't know what's going on.
Unless I made it all up.
Ooh. So yeah, so I'm trying to get my classes done earlier, so I have a little extra time. So that's been pretty stressful, but for the most part, the only thing that's really been, we've tried to watch some movies and stuff. We watched that thing that Hugh Jackman's in. What's it called?
You did.
Reminiscences.
You did.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Let's talk about it. Except you do need to stop your video and start it again because I need to see your face during this.
Okay.
I saw it last night. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Oh, you are?
I am so excited. Okay, listen to my word. I am so excited to talk about it.
Oh, okay. So hold on. Let me stop the video. Okay. We're there?
All right.
Are we
Yeah,
good?
yeah. What did you think?
I thought it was terrible.
It's such a garbage movie.
Oh, it's really
It's
awful.
like it's kind of amazing, and in fact, it also made Trish and I realize, and not because of this movie, but this movie like made it clear Hugh Jackman's not a great actor. He does like one thing and does it mediocre, like not great. It's such a garbage movie. It's amazing. It's
good.
But like I could make a better story out of any 3 seconds of that film. Like it has so many hooks and ideas and stuff that do not get used or get used so poorly. It's amazing. It's such a bad movie. Like Trish, I said this is clearly a movie by someone who has heard of Raymond Chandler, but never read or looked into it all. And Trish said, no, it's somebody who doesn't know how to speak English except they watched a lot of old noir films. And they just know phrases from that. Like first of all, it's every trope ever. Right out the gate. It's every trope ever, but not used in any coherent fashion at all. Like you've heard every line of it before, except slightly less shitty, and usually it's tied to other lines that make it make sense.
There's also a lot of things that they showed that were perfectly adequate for us to get the idea, and we didn't need to be also told
Yeah.
in a variety of ways. I don't know how many times a line was said or a bit of narration was said, and I said, yeah, we see it. We're looking at it right now.
What I love is
telling me this.
The conceit of the film, besides global warming has made the coast flooded and the rich live on dry land inside, which I'm like, but they still live in Miami. So like, is Ohio gone? Could the poor go to Ohio, or do they own all of Ohio? But aside from the whole global warming thing, which doesn't also so many aspects of that don't work either. It reminded me of surrogates. There were things like, so now people do that. I'm like, that it makes no sense that they do that, but whatever. But outside of that, the whole shtick of it is we have technology where we can replay your memories. And originally it was invented to interrogate people, but now people just want to relive their happy memories and all that. And of course, the movie's all about that. However, you could tell pretty much beat for beat this exact film without having that technology at all. Like, nothing about the technology made this a unique plot. The technology was dependent for the way they did it in the movie, but you could also do this whole story without ever having that technology. So it didn't bring anything special to the table.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Even think about that. I mean, I
Yeah,
was too
no, it was the
busy.
next day. I was like, wait, why do we even have that? Like, and just, I mean, just real base. Protagonist is an absolute piece of shit, and like starts out as a piece of shit and gets worse. Like, is a horrible human being, just all around. We also have 3 separate flashbacks of the same conversation that adds nothing to it whatsoever. Thandia Newton, completely wasted. No
Too bad.
reason for her to be there.
Yeah.
Every fucking gendered stereotype that we've worked past in film is back for this. Like, that's the thing. This movie took all the problematic parts about classic film noir and none of the interesting mystery parts. He was such a creep. And I had to look it up midway through. It's the writer and it's no the writer and director of this film in her directorial debut was one of the co-producers and creators of Westworld. And like, the first season of Westworld, at least, which I watched, was better than this. And I didn't think it was very good, but like, I also see it. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I get this. Eh, I mean, like, and I mean this as offensive to all parties involved in this statement. Imagine the Wachowskis, but with less ability to tell a story.
It didn't seem like it could really figure out either what kind of film it was supposed to be, or, and also, along with that, it didn't seem to be able to figure out what it wanted to say. Like,
And there is a climactic scene where we finally understand, and that one really does involve the technology and weird shit that can only happen to the technology. And I found it the most insulting thing I think I've ever seen in my fucking life. Somebody in the movie has a plan that unfolds just right that depended on approximately 8 million random things going exactly perfect, including so many things that they didn't plan, didn't think of, nothing. And in fact, what really happens is somebody had a plan that was, you know what? Maybe someday someone will do a bunch of random specific shit so that things will work out perfectly for something to line up just the way I kind of hope it does. And it did. The end.
the end.
God damn. Fucking such a piece of shit movie. And like, but like, not lazy. I can tell a lot of people worked very hard on this absolute dumpster fire of a film.
Yeah, that was another thing that was amazing. Was it's like, this, like you said, this didn't happen because people phoned it in.
And the visuals are great. Everybody is definitely doing their best to act. And I think fairly successfully. It wasn't like poorly acted. The dialogue is, I mean, absolute excrement, so that doesn't help. Like, there is no line in this movie that humans say. Like there's not a sentence in this film that a person would say.
But I mean, the names they got, it's like Rebecca Ferguson, and I mean,
Yeah, they got
these aren't.
Sandy Newton, as we
Yeah,
already
these.
said.
Yeah, these are pretty. These are the type of people that you wouldn't think would sign on to just anything. So, uh, what made them?
It feels very Weiss and Benioff to me. Like Westworld was a big deal, and this woman was involved in Westworld. And Sandy Newton was in Westworld, and the woman who played Mariposa in Westworld is also in this. I don't know the actress
Oh
name,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
that was one of the first things I saw before I knew the pedigree on this. I was like, hey, I think that's her from Westworld. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not sure it's true. It's also 2 hours long. Feels like 12, 2 hours long. It's so close to being a movie worth watching with friends and beers just to make fun of. It borders on so bad it's good. I don't think it quite gets there though. I do not think it is a good use of your 2 hours to watch it. But it's real close. It's real close to being bad enough to have fun with, because it's so bad.
It's really bad.
So bad. All right. From the ridiculous to the sublime, I have something I want to talk about.
Please do, because I'm done talking.
For the whole episode?
For the whole thing, I'm gonna press mute on my microphone.
It saves on the processing power if we only have to do one voice. No, I mean, people are going to probably have reactions when I say this, so brace yourself.
What, like hives or something? I mean, what do you mean react?
No, I can just see people who are listening going, oh, or like, oh, or like, really, or like, ooh, like, I think people. I'm about to speak on something that people have feelings about.
Okay. Except me, though.
I don't know. You might.
Okay.
I was in a mood, and I did a tweet that I said I never thought this would happen, but I'm actually tired of telling people they're wrong. And Craig replies to that on Twitter and says, even William? And I said, I'm especially tired of telling William when he's wrong. But if I don't do it, who's gonna?
Everybody else, believe me.
It's a job. I tell William
people.
He's wrong because it is my job, not because I take any pleasure from it.
It must be everybody's job.
No, most of them are just doing it wrong. I'm the only one you should listen to.
All right.
Maybe your wife. I don't know. But anyway, I want to talk about Ted Lasso. You really did hit mute. I can't hear anything you say.
I mean, I know what you're talking about. I know it's like a TV show of some kind, but I mean, I've not watched it.
Up until very recently, neither had I. Ted Lasso is a TV show on Apple TV Plus, starring Jason Sudeikis, who overall I'm not a big fan of. Not that I think he's a bad actor or a bad comedian, but generally the stuff he does, I'm not interested in. The comedies to which he attached himself tend to not be things that I'm interested in. In this TV show, he is a very modestly successful, I want to say college football coach in Kansas, who has been hired to be the head coach of a British Premier League football team, like meaning soccer. And he knows nothing about soccer. And he comes to England to coach this team, and it's a comedy. He is very much a nice. He comes off as a very nice, bumbling, dim-witted Midwestern, just good fella kind of thing. And that was pretty much all I knew. And I'm like, whatever. But then things started to happen. The show became weirdly popular, which is hard to do on Apple TV Plus. I'd say it is not one of the top tiers of streaming services that people feel they have to have. But enough people were seeing it and liking it. And I heard a lot that it was very positive, which I was surprised because I'm like, oh, it's a fish out of water white guy. Okay. But apparently it was. People get real into it. I also found out Nick Mohammed, who's a comedian that I know from Britain, is in it, and I like him. But he also does absolutely weird shit. So I'm like, that doesn't really tell me anything. And then they did honest trailers about it that I watched. And again, the vibe I'm getting is that it's just incredibly sweet and positive. And he won an Emmy for it. That's the thing too. Like, and all this. And finally I was like, I should check this out. And I asked her, I'm like, you want to check this out? And I already showed her. She's like, no, I definitely don't want to check this out. And I was like, I get it. And I also very much had this thing, like, it's very popular. So I don't know that I want, like, I suffer from that. I'm like, oh, it's popular, I must fucking hate it. But I'm like, I'll check it out. Because we weren't going to keep Apple TV Plus. We got a free year, like so many people did. And then we accidentally forgot to cancel. And so we got more of it. But it was just like a month more. And Trish was like, you want me to cancel? I'm like, there's a couple things. Let's keep it for a little while. Because I kind of want to go back to Mythic Quest. And, Foundation is coming up. And, I don't know what to think about that. But I want to see it. So I was like, I'll check it out. I have watched 4 episodes of Ted Lasso in the last 2 days. They are a half hour long. I don't have a lot to say about it. I don't know.
That is quite a ramp up to not having a lot to say.
Hey, it's about quality, not quantity. So you're going to love this. I don't know if the show is any good. What?
Okay.
I feel weirdly biased in a way that I'm like, I don't think I can speak on the quality of the show.
Oh, I see.
Here is what I can say about the show.
Okay.
I cannot stop smiling while I'm watching it, and I love it so much. It has not got me misty in a like tears of joy kind of way. Like, it is so blatantly trying to be feel good and tug at your heartstrings and shit, and people may hate that, and I understand that, and I often do, but it's working on me. I love this show. So I'm seriously, the whole time I am smiling. Like, my cheeks hurt after watching a couple of episodes. I love it so much.
Wow.
I feel like everybody out there owes it to themselves to try it. I can't say you'll like it. I can't say it's for you. Like I said, I can't even necessarily say it's any good. I love it so much. You know me, I don't like to watch more than 2 episodes of a show per day to sort of help retention. It's really, really hard for me. I've already watched 2 episodes today. I really, after we do this, want to watch another. I'm not gonna. I do feel like I may rewatch the whole thing after I'm done. Because they're short and there's only 10 in the first season. I don't know how much in the second season, but it makes me so fucking happy. It's just.
So what is this, the new Good Place, or what's going on?
I'm thinking in those terms.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a smart, although it's definitely clever. This is not like, it is a clever show.
Okay.
It has good jokes, and I also laugh. I'm not constantly laughing, but I'm constantly smiling. But I am laughing. But it's not about that it's and that's the thing, and maybe it's incredibly transparent and incredibly artificial, and people whose hearts are shriveled up and dead will hate it, and they may be absolutely justified in doing so. But I just love it. It's just joyful. It's just a joyful, earnest, happy show, and shit happens. Like things happen that are bad, but none of them like gut punch me or anything. Like, oh, but like it's just there's a simplistic beauty of just earnest goodwill and a tremendous ensemble cast too. They're all doing a great job. They're having so much fun with it, and they gel really well. It's I don't, it is so much of what it is. It might be total bullshit. I might be an absolute tool for how I feel about it. It might not be a good show, although it has fucking won an Emmy and everybody loves it. So, who are you? But goddamn, I love it so much. It makes me so pleased. And I've only seen 4 episodes. So I had to get that out there.
Okay, good.
I haven't got Trish on board yet. I'm not pushing her. I said, I think you should reconsider. And I'm going to keep watching it. But if at any point you reconsider, I am more than willing to rewatch with you up to the point I am.
You sound like a Christian person with a lapsed spouse.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing. I just sometimes will say, we missed you at church today.
If you get it, if you find that Ted Lasso calls to you, I enjoy the shit out of it. I really, I mean, actually, I think Apple TV Plus is pretty cheap. I want to say it's like $6 a month or something. But
not much. We don't have it, but
also, get a free. There's not a lot on there that's worth. C is getting a second season, which I don't get, but whatever. I didn't ever watch it. But get a free trial and binge the motherfucker because so much. All right, I've said my piece.
To tell you this, because I think it's funny, Abby was using her cell phone as a GPS while she was driving.
Yeah.
And so we're on the interstate and we're coming up to an exit, and it's a female voice, and she says, in half a mile, turn left, whatever. So she was saying in half a mile, wait, what did she say? In half a mile, turn left, and then left again to go downtown. Something. Yeah, it's like everything else was like really whatever. But when she said downtown, she goes, downtown. I was like, what? Where did that come from?
So there's a few different ways
like that. Downtown.
There's a few different ways to get to my in-laws. And my in-laws live in a small town just outside of Peoria, Illinois. And so on occasion, we have used GPS, sat nav, whatever, to get if we're going like a weird way because there was construction or something.
Sure, yeah.
And it's interesting because we use Trish's phone, so it's an Apple, so it's Siri, and we can hear Siri evolving and presumably getting updates. Because the first time we did this, she kept sending us to exits for Peoria. And we thought it was hilarious, and then we were used to it, and then one day she said Peoria, and we were like, oh yeah, I kind of miss it.
We went to Maquoketa Caves once, yeah? And the thing said, you have arrived at Maquoketa Caves. I thought that sounded, I like that better.
Maquoketa Caves.
That better, Maquoketa. So that's what we call it now, Maquoketa. Hey, let's go to Maquoketa Caves. But yeah, she probably wouldn't call
Caves
it.
Was my favorite big band singer in the late 50s.
Nice. That's a good one.
Maquoketa Caves.
Did you draw a card? Is that what we're gonna do?
Yeah, I thought I had something I was going to say.
Oh,
but
sorry.
I don't know what it was.
Downtown.
Oh, we closed on the mortgage yesterday.
To fix all the stuff around your house.
Yeah. And it should be good. Carpentry's done. The roofers are mostly done. I think contractors don't tell me shit about when they're going to be here and when they're not going to be here. It's very confusing. I just like, they weren't here for like 4 days. And I was like, are they done? And Trisha's like, no, they're not done because they were going to replace the gutters and we still have the same gut. I'm like, okay. And then one day I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Oh, I think somebody's on my roof again. And they were doing more shit. And then it's been raining, so they haven't. But like, I don't know when they'll come back. They don't tell me. It's weird.
It'll be nice to have all that fixed, though. It'll feel good.
It will. Well, and then we call the electrician and try and get all that. Then I'm still hoping for next spring the pool will be ready, but we'll see.
So,
But we've got the money for it.
very good. Excellent.
All right. This is from Mick the Knife.
Dun,
And this
dun,
one,
dun,
as
dun, 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 dun.
as a previous one has been abridged. Whereas once we're done with these little cards, that won't have to happen anymore. But it has been. Mick says, the Alanis Morissette song, Ironic, everything in it is ironic. Fighting.
Talked about this before. In a manner of speaking, yes, you can use ironic that way. I just don't think that's.
Wait. Give me that argument.
I mean, I looked it up once because back in the day when I was first listening to it, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, this isn't ironic. So I looked it up, and the source I was using, and this was a long time ago, so maybe it's wrong, I don't know. But I mean, it wasn't like just some web page somewhere. This was like, I don't know what it was. Some good reference, whatever it was, or I thought it was a good reference. And it said that, yeah, you can use ironic in this way, but it's not like even the article I read acknowledged that it's not really what people usually think of when they say ironic, but it was a valid use of it according to this reference. And this was, granted 20 years ago or something when I first looked it up, but I still don't, when I hear it, I still don't think that anything sounds particularly ironic, but this source said that was a fair use of the term. So,
well, fuck them. Now, okay, because here's the thing. Irony has a fairly simple definition, so there are a lot of things that are technically irony that you wouldn't think of as ironic, but they still fall within the definition. And irony is basically subverted expectations, a result that was different from expectations. So if I came to your house, not your house, if I came to a normal person's house for dinner and they gave me roast beef and I was like, oh, I was expecting chicken. Technically, that's ironic, but it's not interesting. Like, real ironic is my friend who owns a chicken farm invited me for dinner and served me roast beef. That's ironic.
Yeah, that seems.
Expectation was that there would be chicken.
Well, and I think what you just said is what this source said, which is all of the things that she's talking about are, like you said, unmet expectations or whatever.
Except there's no explication of expectation. Rain on your wedding day. I mean, I guess you could say I didn't expect there to be rain,
but I want there to be. Yeah.
But I mean, that's not the fact that you were getting married and it rained is not inherently ironic. We could build out the story in ways that it could be ironic. And actually, I've seen that people are like, if you specifically lived in Seattle where it rains all the time, so you went and had your wedding in Death Valley where it never rains, and then it rained that day, it would be ironic. And if it didn't rain in Seattle, it would really be ironic.
Right. Well, I mean, none of the things in the song again, even if someone could convince me, as like obviously this reference I read sort of convinced me that, okay, in a manner of speaking, it's not like you just pointed out, it's not in an interesting way. I mean,
Yeah.
though
But I
usually
would
when
argue
someone's
it
moved
mostly
to
isn't.
usually when someone's moved to say something's ironic, it's like mind-bendingly ironic or funny ironic, or there's something. It's not just, oh, this happened and I didn't
Well,
want it to happen.
or
Well,
you
that's
had expectations and there was a reason you had expectations. So like it's a free ride when you've already been. That could be ironic if you were led to believe it is impossible to get there without paying. If it's a free ride when you've already been and that ride also was free, it's not ironic. And in fact, it's a free ride when you've already been is only ironic if you paid. And if you paid specifically because you did not think there was a free option. 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife is only ironic if you were expecting knives.
well.
Like, if you're like, I could really use a knife in this spoon factory, but unfortunately, it's a spoon factory and I only have spoons. That's not ironic. That's just shitty luck. It's only
Well,
ironic if you're like, here's a place that would have knives. Nope, just spoons. And in that instance, the number of spoons does not impact the irony.
a lot of the situations in the song are things like the kinds of things that if they happened, you might be motivated to go, of course, of course,
Yeah,
this is happening.
but
But
that's
that's
still
not,
not that's
yeah,
not a
that's not a,
definition of irony.
no,
And some of
but
them were the dude who was scared of flying.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like that one has the strongest argument
You're right. I do too. Yeah.
for irony because he clearly overcame his fear of flying because it's much safer than a car and all that stuff. And then he was the instance where it wasn't. The man who won the lottery when he was 98 and died is not remotely ironic. A traffic jam when you're already late, also not at all ironic. There's nothing about that.
Just bad luck, as you say.
Yeah, like I'm late, so I would expect traffic would go well is not a thing.
All right. Well, like I say,
Yeah.
I to me, it almost doesn't matter if there's some form of the term ironic that fits. It's not an interesting form of the term ironic for sure.
And
It's not.
I 100% agree with that. I just also want to add, and I think most of the song doesn't even fall under that category.
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
most of the song is patently not ironic.
Like I say,
Mick, get on this. Let's fight about it. Get on the blog, themagicaltalkinghat.com.
I wonder if
give
he'll
us your argument because this was not an argument. This was just positing something. So
I wonder
get at us.
I wonder if he'll reference a source, a similar source, or the same one that I found.
Possibly. I am weirdly into this argument because A, it doesn't matter at all, so I can definitely get behind it.
Right.
And B, I have a personal interest in irony.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
And so I would love to dive into this more, but to me, it's fairly straightforward.
But I have a personal interest in irony, but if that song is a kind of irony, that's not the kind.
Yeah, that's not an interesting kind, but I don't
No.
But I would be curious if it expands my sort of understanding of irony that would include that stuff. Because I mean, there is plenty of irony out there that I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess it is, but it's boring. But this would be interesting if it's like this actually is, because a lot of it I don't think. Also, I wouldn't have expected you to have an interest in irony.
What are you talking about? I know
I'm just saying it would be ironic.
It would be ironic.
I don't. I'm actually supremely unsurprised that you have an interest in irony.
I think irony is pretty important.
Yeah.
I think.
Um,
And in fact, I think the ability to sense irony or to perceive it and to have a physiological response to it is one of the most important things that humans are able to do.
pause 1 second. Did you just say have a physiological response to it?
Yeah.
What's the physiological response to irony?
Well, sometimes it makes people laugh. Sometimes it makes people cry. Sometimes it makes people feel creeped out. Sometimes it makes people feel, or, just sorrowful or sad. I mean, irony invokes all kinds of emotions, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would have I mean, you're technically correct. I would never have phrased emotional reaction as physiological response. I would have primary said emotional reaction, and then I might have said psychological response.
But
I would never have said physiological response. But I mean, but again, you're not wrong. I'm just like, I don't know. To me, that's too broad. I'm like, does irony like give you a boner? Like, does irony up your blood pressure? Like, like there are too many physiological responses.
I suppose it could do either one of those things, depending on what kind of
does irony make you break out in hives? No, that's just a very interesting turn of phrase that I hadn't ever considered before. Huh. I might have to start making more use of that.
Well, I mean,
I absolutely understand it. I just wouldn't. I would have never used it that way.
Yeah, I think irony really is at the core of feelings of the sublime. Like the feeling, religious feelings are you feel unique and worthy and special as an individual, but you also feel like you're part of a bigger thing, and like it seems like two separate contradictory things, but it's really the same thing. It's paradoxical. That's the term a lot of spiritual and philosophical people like to use, paradoxical. But when you think about it, that's ironic.
A paradox by its definition is essentially ironic. Yes.
What I'm saying. So, irony seems to be involved in all of the most important things that human beings, religious experiences, comedy, tragedy, lots of things. It's deep in how human beings find value and how they relate to the world, to the extent that humans value a lot of things more than living. Like survival is not the thing that humans value most. They value all kinds of things more than that. And a lot of times it's because if you talk to someone about what they value the most, that they're like almost religious, well, I shouldn't say even almost, like totally religious about how devoted they are to this thing, there's some sublime experience associated with it that almost always you could characterize or portray as an irony, some kind of irony that just moves them.
I would now like to amend my earlier statement. I'm only kind of have an interest in irony. That guy has an interest in irony.
Say it up. Sorry, never mind.
No, this is personally fascinating, but you have expanded to dimensions I have never even considered on the topic. I don't think anything you've said is incorrect. It's just shit I've never thought of. Also, for me, your screen has been frozen for like 10 minutes. So it's very weird. You're just like, yeah, it's kind of freaking me out. That's what I should start doing when it happens. I'll just have the same pose. All right,
there we go.
That is really annoying. I don't know what the fuck that's about. I got to admit, it's 100%, especially since it doesn't show up in the YouTube. It's 100% better than all the problems we had before, but it's still very personally annoying. The parts before where we couldn't hear you didn't bug me nearly as much.
Okay.
So, yeah, Mick, get on there. Or other people. I mean, if other people want to weigh in on irony, not that I would expect you to. Go to the blog, magictalkinghat.com, and tell us your thing. Here's another thing. It is also abridged. Man, this is just like driving home the format change here.
Chronic.
This one is from Mark McKibben. Again, listener we haven't heard from in a long time, much like Mick until recently. I mean, until his previous question, which no one weighed in on. No one had, besides us, had shit to say about Star Wars. I find that super weird. Oh, but you aren't on Twitter, so you didn't see this. Somebody came up with the best way to explain Star Wars ever.
Oh.
I'm so happy about it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Star Wars is, has, and always will be a restaurant. We all like going there. We have our favorite items on the menu. Some of the things that we like to get more often than others. We all have things on the menu that we don't like, that other people like, and it doesn't matter. We just eat the things we like. And we all, as a group, need to be respectful and not dickish to the staff that works there.
That's good. I like that.
I love it.
It's good.
Like, I have
Very
had,
good.
I mean, I on record have had such, and you know, I bitch about Star Wars constantly, and I probably don't say enough though. I mean, I love Star Wars too. There's bits in Star Wars that I absolutely adore. But so much of it I fucking hate, and for so many reasons and stuff. And I have spoken far more than I should have on this podcast about that thing. But I feel like that sums it up just so well. Star Wars
Good, I
is
like
a great restaurant. There's definitely shit on that menu that I do not fuck with, but it doesn't mean other people can't eat it. And we need to be appreciative and nice to the staff.
I like it.
Yeah. And then I put the question down as though that's what this question was, which it's not. Spoilers, nothing to do with Star Wars. All right. So Mark asks, besides A&W, what beers of root do you enjoy? Now, Mark, I know it needs a lot of ketchup here, but I think it needs a lot of ketchup because I feel like you've spoken at length on this topic many times.
1919, we talked about that.
Well, and other more specific roots. Sarsaparilla, Whorehound. My wife is a very big ginger beer fan. Yep. She drinks a lot of ginger beer.
Reed's ginger.
We wanted to get Reed's in cans for the road trip out to Virginia, and Javi just didn't have it. And we ended up trying to get Vernon's, and it had high fructose corn syrup in it. And my wife don't truck with that, and I don't truck with, you know, non-diet. So we ended up passing it off on some friends. I mean, I think it was fine, but
we've been drinking Reed Zero in cans.
Where are you getting that?
IV.
Where?
IV.
Oh, you've got a different IV. Our IV don't have that shit.
Yeah, it's now, you know, it's got that.
What's the stuff? Is it stevia?
That's monk fruit and some stevia. So you do get a little bit of the taste of the stevia, like just a little bit.
Yeah, which I'm not. I have discovered, much to my sadness, I don't particularly like stevia.
I don't either.
I'm okay with monk fruit.
Well,
Magic Spoon cereal, a lot of the sweet there came from monk fruit, and I like that.
Right. Okay. So I find that you know, again, I don't really like the stevia flavor, but you get used to it, and it's also nice because it's not got sugar. I mean, you know, we've had the root beer, we've had the cream soda, which I thought would really be ruined by the stevia taste, but not too bad. And the root beer, and we like them all. From Reed's Zero.
I may have to take a little trip out to Coralville.
Cans.
Get this shit, because we ain't got it out here in any form. I would have seen that.
So yeah, we've been drinking that. It's pretty good.
That would be great. Because yeah, I'm discovering I really like, I mean, I always sort of forget it exists, but I really like diet ginger ale. But it's hard. Most places you go, even to convenience stores, and they've got usually Canada Dry, but they don't have the diet. And I like diet. I mean, that's what I drink. And that's the thing. That's why I don't really need the stevia. Is I'm perfectly fine with aspartame. Um. So yeah. So the idea of any sort of 0-calorie read sounds awesome to me.
Yeah,
But
it's
I'm gonna
pretty
have to
good.
check it out.
It's pretty good. We've been drinking quite a lot of it lately. I don't know why, but it's good. So I'm not
I
complaining.
Even though I think we're on the tail end of the limited time, our Hy-Vee just recently got its mango Pepsi on, including Pepsi's mango Pepsi Zero. And so I bought a whole bunch of that. I've been drinking a lot of that. And I'm just about out now. That stuff is tasty. I don't really understand. Other flavors of it are fine, but it is good stuff. Um, this morning, as part of balanced breakfast, not as part of balanced breakfast, by coincidence, not irony, coincidence is how this happened. I was filling up the gas with the car, and so I just went into the convenience store and bought like some breakfast foods. Like I bought like a breakfast sandwich and some to drink or whatever, and I happened to see a display that had flavors of Kit Kat I had not tried, and they're experimenting with that finally in the U.S. And so I frequently want to jump on them. And the one it had was fruity cereal, and I'll try just about anything. And also, I really like fruity cereal, and I really like fruity cereal flavored things, so I grabbed it. But then I also ate it. I didn't save it. I ate it as part of my breakfast. And so it is a funny coincidence that it's the cereal flavored one and I ate it at breakfast. But it is not irony, people. Unless you would expect that I would eat a Kit Kat later. But then that has nothing to do with the cereal. Anyway. It's fine. It's good. It tastes like artificial fruit cereal. And yes, I put artificial in twice on the purpose because it doesn't taste like real fruit cereal, artificial fruit
Artificial
cereal.
fruit cereal.
Yes.
How ironic.
But no, it's not. Unless that's what you were expecting. Like, oh God, I feel like we're ruining irony in this. Like everything's ironic. Like, oh, I got up this morning. That's ironic. Why is that ironic? I didn't think I was gonna get up this morning. I stubbed my toe. That was ironic. Why? I didn't expect to stub my toe. You know? So basically, as long as you're really bad at expecting things, a person's entire life can be incredibly ironic.
If
Got
you
arrested today. That was ironic. I didn't
if you
expect it. I mean, I totally
if
broke the law, but
if
I
you
didn't think I'd get
if
arrested.
you stub your toe on the morning that you're going to run a marathon.
No, it's not. Unless
Or maybe it
you've
is,
got
but it's
some
not an
weird
interesting
shit
way.
where you're like, and I wore these special shoes specifically to avoid toe stubbing because I knew I had to do an irony. I had to do an irony. I had to do a marathon. Just last night, I told my wife, I just knew that there was a town named Ohio in Miami. What's wrong with that sentence?
There's a town in you meant Florida is what you meant.
No.
Oh, you meant Miami? There's a town in the town of Miami? I don't understand what you're saying.
Exactly. There is a town in Ohio named Miami.
Oh, actually, yeah, there is. That's right.
I know. I'm not making this shit up.
But
I
you
wasn't
said it
just
wrong.
randomly saying words that ironically became a real thing. No, what I'm saying is when I was telling her, I accidentally said, yeah, no, there's a town named Ohio in Miami.
Okay, yeah.
And she's like, wait, because she said to me, you know, the whole thing about how in Ohio there's a University of Miami. And do you know what that's about? And me having recently learned that the University of Miami in Ohio is in a town in Ohio that is called Miami, said, yes, I do know. And she said, oh, and looked kind of disappointed. And I was like, well, tell me, like, let's see, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And I wasn't wrong, but it's so much bigger than that. You will love this. Like, if any of this was Iowa, you would already know this and have told me about this. There is a town named Miami in Ohio. There's also a bunch of other shit in Ohio named Miami because Miami is an indigenous tribe that comes from Ohio. And in fact, Miami, Florida was named by a woman from Ohio. So in fact, Miami, Florida is technically named after Miami, Ohio. Or at least by the tribe that's in Ohio.
Yeah, I knew about some time ago, I learned that the Miami tribe was in the Ohio area there. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then I just thought there was some coincidence about Miami, Florida. I thought maybe they weren't even related.
Some woman who was like majorly influential in creating the town that became Miami.
Named it after
is from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, so Ohio gets fucking dibs, people.
Well, yeah, I knew that.
And you know why this came up?
No.
Because we were watching Reminiscence that takes place in Miami.
Why they couldn't just move to Ohio?
Ironic. No. We're talking about it later, and Trish was like, and then there's that bit where he goes to New Orleans. And I was like, what are you talking about? He didn't go to New Orleans. They just saw stuff from, and she's like, no, he went to go talk to St. Joe. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, St. Joe would have been in New Orleans. It was so uninteresting. I didn't give a shit enough to notice. But yeah, I suppose technically that one scene he would have had to go to New Orleans for. Like, we didn't spend any time on him getting there or him leaving, but I guess technically that scene took place in New Orleans instead of Miami.
Well, I was interested in that because they made such a huge deal out of all the coastal cities and stuff. I thought, New Orleans, is that still going to be there? And so then I thought, well, maybe the set piece is going to be really impressive. Like they have these really tall wall. No, it just looked like New Orleans. It's like, wait a minute, this can't be working.
That. It looked like Miami. I didn't even notice.
Oh, well, I mean, okay, but
it looked like all the others.
I'm just saying they didn't do anything special about New Orleans that
super did not.
Shouldn't even still be there based on everything they said.
I do think we got a weird, because I mean, it should go without saying. This movie has so much.
Ironically, it doesn't.
this movie has so much voiceover.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Isn't that weird?
Just like you would expect, but to real terrible effect. And I believe, I remember this now. I think he does a whole bit where he's like, New Orleans is an unusual town. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of known for that. Like, always has been. Like, yeah, it's weird. It's New Orleans. Of course it is. Like, what is, like, he made a whole thing about how there was this unique vibe of New Orleans without going into what the vibe is, but would also, unless you'd never heard of New Orleans, you don't need that explained to you.
Things you didn't need explained. That's a weird movie that way.
And then there was a time where he's obsessed and he's like, this must be a clue. They left me a clue. And then later it was a clue. And I was like, fuck you, movie. That did not deserve to be a clue. That is so dumb. I hate you so much. Oh, there's a real cool set piece that's underwater. But just to be safe, we spent such a long time down there doing absolutely nothing that I was really sick of it by the end. Really gorgeous set piece, and I was absolutely sick of it. But I was like, hurry up, move it along. So many, like, I got so many great ideas for role-playing games out of that movie, though. of shit that like they did horribly, but I'm like, hey, if somebody wouldn't suck with this one aspect, we use that. Including just the long shot in the beginning. Because we first come into these things and they're on stilts and they're out front, but they're very modern looking construction. I'm like, I think those were built afterward. And I was thinking about that. Like if the sea levels rise, if we just have communities that are on stilts, like an oil rig kind of setup or whatever. And I was like, that could be cool. It wasn't, but it could be.
Wasn't.
Yeah.
How ironic.
Yeah. Reminiscence is full of irony in that it would have taken less effort to be good, but didn't. I don't like sometimes it's fun when like we have strongly differing opinions about a movie. But I'm so glad you also hated this one. I feel like I don't know if I could have been able to deal with you anymore if you were like, actually, I really liked it. I would have been like, oh my God, I don't even know. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
We need to end the friendship now, right? I mean, that's such a fundamental thing, like basic principles of life, you know, the value of humanity, the importance of mutual respect and caring, and knowing that Reminiscence is just a shit show of a movie. This is the bedrock on which we live our lives.
Sure. Yeah, I hear you.
I'm saying I'm still working on ways to be civil with Trump supporters, but I don't think I could ever do it with somebody who really liked Reminiscence. All right, that's gonna be it for us, people. Right in. We are slowly but surely getting a collection of emails. I have it on good authority. And we're down to two more. So I imagine next week we'll probably take that out.
Possible.
We'll have to see. But in the meantime, go to the blog, give us your feeling on irony, tell me how much you loved Reminiscence, and then never speak to me again. You know, whatever. Have a good time with it. Talk about beers and roots. And how do you feel about stevia? The public wants to know. Also, if you have some feelings about Ted Lasso, it's a safe space to share them.